Hey y'all, what's up? This is Chris from Blackstone Cherry, and you're watching the Helix Hour with Eric Broadbent.
Hey, this is Vernon Reed from Living Color, and you're watching the Helix Hour.
Hey guys, my name is Gemma Jura. I'm the guitar player for Evanescence, and you're watching the Helix Hour.
Welcome to the Helix Hour, brought to you in part by Stewart Travel Guitars. See the incredible stowaway travel guitar at stewartguitars.com. Microphones for the Helix Hour are provided by Rode Microphones. Now, let's talk some Helix. Hey everyone, happy Sunday to you all. Welcome to the Helix Hour. We are live, and joining us this afternoon, morning, evening, wherever it is from your time zone, we have from Atlanta guitarist Bill Kelliher of Mastodon. Bill, how are you?
I'm great, man.
Nice to have you.
It's a nice, quiet Sunday here. Kids are out of the house.
Nice.
Just relaxing and looking forward to speaking with you, Eric.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. Been looking forward to having you on for a long time. And something I'll share with you that I know you'll appreciate. And once the Line 6 Helix community found out that you were using the product, I don't know how, I can't say exactly how many emails I had and Facebook messages and just texts and stuff like that. But like, dude, you got to get Bill on the show. And I'm like, hey, I've been thinking about it for quite some time. And just, your schedule's been busy doing clinics and recording and all that stuff. But we finally made it happen. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, I appreciate it. That's awesome, man. Thank you very much.
No problem. So we're going to jump over to the chat and say hi to a bunch of people here as well, too. And then we'll go back and forth a few times to say hi to them. I'm sure there's going to be some great Mastodon fans, and I'm looking forward to meeting some new people because of that. It'd be nice to see some new faces and get to know them. So that's great. So over in the chat, we have Butterfly and Ladybug Show. That's my better half. She'll be sharing your links to all your properties throughout the program. And then we'll be sharing your preset later on. We'll talk about that. Thrash and Metal Fun Riffs is here. Derek Merrill, Buffalo Billy, Never Too Late. David B.B. Benningfield, Frank Rashot from Line 6 himself. Hey, Frank, good to see you, my friend. Kai Down is here. Ladybug is here. Are there a part of the Butterfly and Ladybug show? Nathan Whitney is here. Michael Collins. Rob Hitchcock. Official Hugh Rocco is here. Clint Norwood. Jeremy Carter, Nick Rush from all the way over there in South Africa, I believe. Matt Krill, Garry Davlin, Scott Roos from Canada here, Brad Mill, Nathaniel Klein is here, and Triple C. And Triple, there's a nice comment already. He says, your band has saved him from depression.
Yeah, that's we get that a lot.
Nice.
I recognize the name Clint Norwood. He won something in my my raffle I did recently.
Oh,
if
nice.
it's the same guy, I mean, it could be.
Yeah, probably. Very cool.
But back to that's one thing about our band that I feel blessed with is that we can actually reach people where we're helping people with depression. Music has always helped me. It helps all of us,
It does. And, I think I don't want to just pigeonhole heavier music, but I had some buddies in high school, same thing as well, too. Some of us were teased because the music we listened to, like metalheads and stuff like that, but it helped us with a lot of problems. And, it kind of lets you forget about life's problems for the day or for the week or the month and just surround yourself in music. And if it's good,
dude, listen to Metallica Fade to Black.
Exactly. I know.
And when I was in high school, Fade to Black and Orion were like my go-to songs. All that stuff. It was so deep, and I could recognize that those guys they weren't that much different than I was.
Yep, that's right.
I didn't immediately put Metallica on a pedestal because when I picked up, a lot of people ask me, well, why is Metallica was your favorite band? And it's like, well, because when I picked up those Iron Maiden records and I looked at the back, it was like they had all these like crazy costumes on and they were singing falsetto and the backdrop, they had this crazy Eddie Monster that came out and all. I was like, this is too much for me. And when I looked at Metallica, Master of Puppets, for instance, because I was a punk rock kid, I loved the Dead Kennedys, a lot of the Black Flag, the Bay Area stuff in California, which morphed into, to me, like, the grunge, Melvins, Helmet, Jesus Lizard, Bad Brains, like all that kind of stuff, which was kind of like those dudes that weren't as proficient in a certain way as Iron Maiden,
Mhm.
because they were like the perfectionists. And
Oh, yeah.
the Judas Priests and the Eddie Van Halen type of guitar players. Because I was just a kid, I never took any guitar lessons. I just started listening to like Van Halen, Led Zeppelin, and I was like, man, this stuff's awesome. But once Metallica rolled around, I was like, hey, these guys are wearing like ripped up jeans and like ripped up t-shirts, but they're playing in front of 100,000 people.
Yeah.
And to me, I was like, oh, their riffs are kind of like, it's kind of like an orchestrated, like a metal version of like Bach or something.
Okay. Yeah.
Like a lot of the stuff, the notes and the harmonies and stuff they're doing, it's very classical. So I was afraid of that at first because I was so punk rock, and because I was starting at the very bottom. I was like, my dad bought me $100 guitar.
Yeah.
And I'm just like banging on it. I'm trying to learn Crazy Train, but I can't because I don't know how to do what Randy Rhoads is doing.
And it's a bit of a jump there in the fingers for the first opening riff.
Yeah, but when I first heard like the Sex Pistols and the Ramones, it was really the Ramones that like taught me, like, you know what, dude, you don't have to be like learning every chromatic scale and whatever. You can just learn one chord and write a song.
That's right.
So that's how my personal journey into like playing guitar and making music started.
A lot of the bands that you're talking about.
Grateful for that.
Oh yeah.
Johnny Ramone. I mean, rest in peace. Oh, that guy, he was a powerhouse. Yeah. I mean, it's not as easy as you think to write a pop song. A lot of people are like, oh, they're a pop band. They just write pop songs. But the Ramones were a punk rock pop band.
I agree with that 100%.
And they wrote, I don't know, 300 pop songs with the same 3 freaking notes. The challenge is to write the same song, not the same song, write a different song with the same 3 notes every time. And they actually did that.
You'd wonder how many times they get away with it.
That's what made them great.
Mm-hmm.
I always take a Ramones approach when I'm writing a song or interested in a band or whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be always. I mean, I know you're known as the riff master, and we'll talk about some of the compliments you get from the band members about riffing all the time too, coming up with these great riffs. But it comes down to the song, and I've been turned on to pop thanks to my 14-year-old son. And it doesn't matter the genre of music. I haven't really grasped country too much yet. I haven't given enough of a chance. But I
live
mean,
in Canada.
Yeah, right.
What the hell?
But the song,
I'm the same way.
You can't hide bad songwriting, no matter what style it is. I mean, a song is
depends on what country. Like modern day country, not a big fan.
Yeah.
Early country,
sure.
Hank Williams.
Yep.
Johnny Cash. That's all really good stuff.
Yeah. The same as me too. I agree with you 100% because I grew up in that, hearing it in home. My mom and dad, especially my mom, was fans of all those people that you just mentioned. And whether I wanted to hear it or not, it was being played. So it was either go outside and play or just listen to it and accept it. And it was good. So Frank Rashad and Nick Rush just beat me to something here, but just a quick mention to the people in the chat here as well too. If there's any questions you would like to ask Bill, you can either tag myself, Music Gear Network, or you can tag Butterfly and Ladybug Show. We'll try to get those questions funneled off to Bill. And if I miss them, she'll send them to me. Also, too, if you'd like to support the show in any form, you can either do super chats, as both Frank and Nick have done. Thank you so much. That's very, very kind of you. Or you can use our PayPal link on the screen as well, too. And in true Helix tradition, Helix Hour tradition, we're going to have a free preset later on today. So watch for that. And I got spoiled. I get spoiled every time when we get presets because I get to play them before you guys do. And Bill sent us a preset earlier, and it was a lot of fun to play with for sure. So we'll have that available for you as well too. So let's jump back, and before we get into all the fun Helix stuff, we like to warm up a little bit. I also noticed Matt Ferguson's here as well too, our second employee from Line 6, our good mutual friend. He was on the show last week, so he's in the chat too, saying hi. But
hey Matt.
You've been busy as heck. I mean, with the band, doing a little bit more. I didn't know your full discography. So you've got over 7 full-length LPs, 2 EPs, a couple of those, I think. And then you were sharing with me the other night when we were chatting, you're working on the new one, or is it fully done yet?
It's not fully done yet. What you're looking at here, like in the background, is I'm at my home in Atlanta, Georgia, and I've always been interested in recording, and I'm a total gear nerd, tone nerd, whatever. And in the past, like, I don't know, I don't want to say 10 years, but probably in the past 5 years, it's been such a plethora of guitar sound nerdrum. It's just like IR speaker emulators. There's just so much to play with, and you know, I never was such. I really started delving into it after I built this little. What you're looking at. This is like my my control room. Out there is like I have a little tiny drum room, like a live room.
Nice.
For recording. I've been interested in that since my early days at recording with 4-tracks.
Yeah, like Tascam days and TAC days and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I don't know. It takes up anyone who does recording knows that it takes up a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're a family man and you have kids and a wife, and they're like, "What are you doing down there?"
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm trying to mix this freaking guitar solo,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. It's time consuming. So it's kind of a give and take between real life and it. You know, my wife likes to say, "Well, you disappear into the basement."
Yeah.
Like, well, I'm in my studio and I'm creating stuff because I'm an artist and I'm enjoying it. But Helix. Line 6 Helix stuff just like exploded my brain with all the available nerddom I could get into.
I know.
Especially with because all of a sudden I built my studio so that I could have isolation rooms for my amps. But I don't need to do that anymore.
That's right.
Because I have such great sounding amps coming out of the Helix.
You're not disturbing anybody at 3 in the morning.
Yeah, with recording these days, the drummer Braun Daler and I will sit inside here and I'll play something and I'll say, "Hey, here's my idea," and I'll play it through the Helix, which goes right into my my interface here, my computer, my Pro Tools rig, and he'll say, "Yeah, that sounds cool. Maybe change this a little bit." I don't know if that's me feeding back a little bit or not. Are you there?
Yep, sir. Yep, we got you.
Turn you up. So we'll do some stuff here, and then I'll record to a click track with the Helix, and then I'll just have him go out into the live room, put the headphones on, and he just hears the Helix track. He's along to it. And then we have a drum track. Then I'll probably most likely re-record with another Helix track. And then we're on our way to recording.
Do you often do DI as well too, like put a DI track in there out of Helix?
I've never actually done that.
You should try that because with Helix you can send out USB by either 7 and 8. And so you run so on one track you arm it, you get your sound, whatever you like, and then you can send the DI back. So what you can do later on is let's say it's non-destructive that way. It's like reamping is what it is. So then you can turn around and send, let's say you're on track 3, the USB DI track, send it back through Helix and say, no, I don't like that amp. Let's just change the amp. When you get to where you want, then you've got a whole new reamped track.
And what do you run that out of?
Right out of Helix. I'll show you how to do it. It's pretty simple.
Like, okay, so out of Helix, normally I just run out of the XLR left or whatever.
Yeah, but you could actually use that as a USB interface right to your DAW. So come out USB, and you're sending. So you could send still stereo tracks or mono track if you want, and then it'll also send you on USB. It'll send you. I think we lost you there. There we go. Sorry, it was froze for a sec. So you'll send out regular audio and USB DI track. It's pretty simple. So you'll do 2 tracks at the same time. One will be a DI to reamp later on. I'll show you how to do it.
Out of the same output?
Yep.
Or do you have to run 2 outputs?
Nope, just using USB directly to your DAW. So it becomes now you tell your DAW that Helix is now your recording interface.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I use Universal Audio.
Okay.
So I haven't recorded just. It always asks me if I want to use the Helix as the DAW,
Right.
and I always say no because I'm using a UAD.
Yeah, maybe try it sometime just for fun, just to see how you get get away with it.
That's really good. That's really good to know, and
Yeah.
I'm sure it's good to know for our listeners too, because I didn't know that.
I think it's good for
'cause
people that like myself that I can't engineer. I can't really get a good sound. So if I put something destructive into my DAW, when I say destructive, something that's overly saturated or something that's just bad, then I'm stuck with it.
Okay.
It's you've baked it in there, right? It's like baking a cake. Whatever you put into it, once it's baked, it's
Right,
baked.
right.
So
done.
yeah, so it's good for the people that are, and it's good for the pros too, but very helpful for the amateurs.
It's like, hey, yeah, we captured it. It sounds great, but the through the Helix, it's way too hot.
Yes, exactly. So I'll help you with that. Here's some great questions that are coming in faster than I can even come up with. So there's a couple of funny ones and some serious ones.
Sure.
Thrash is asking, what was it like to filming and recording in space?
Oh man, it was great because I felt so light, so freaking fat.
Yeah, there you go.
Recording in space, yeah, it's good. I like being in space.
Yep. Yeah. And Clint Norwood says, what did you, I know you're a big Star Wars fan, and you fit in very, very well with a lot of our Helix fans here, because a lot of Helix and Star Wars and, that kind of sci-fi stuff goes hand in hand. But he says, what did you think about The Mandalorian?
Oh man, The Mandalorian. I love The Mandalorian. I got a little bummed out. I'll be honest, man. It's like, I was very stoked. I have, lots of Boba Fett Mandalorian tattoos and crap like that, because I've been such a Star Wars.
Big Star Wars fan.
His name is Harrison Ford, of course.
Yeah.
But The Mandalorian was the very first hope of like something good going on. I know it was the actor John, I forget his name,
from Breaking Bad.
No, it was an actor that he was a director for the
Jon Favreau.
Mandalorian.
Jon Favreau.
John Favreau.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, from the.
And I was like, really?
Yeah.
I was like, really? He did this?
Yeah, he's really respected now.
He did a effing great job. No, it was really cool. If you want to get my honest opinion, the first couple episodes, every time I see something Star Wars in the theaters or for the first time, like on TV or whatever, I got goosebumps. And I was like, man, what a great idea. Finally moved the franchise to television, Netflix, whatever. It's on Netflix, all right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet, though. Here in Canada, I haven't got the Disney Channel or the Disney Plus, whatever they call that thing.
Sorry, I correct myself. It's not on Netflix. It's on the Disney Channel.
Right. And something
I'm special because I'm special because I have friends that hook me up with secret viewing options.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. I know what you're getting.
Anyway,
at. Yeah, I know.
So what to answer his question was that. Yeah, I really liked it, but it got redundant. Like in the first couple episodes, same Baby Yoda got stolen, and got saved. So, but I still love it. I can't wait for season 2.
Yeah, it's been renewed from what I've heard, so that's cool. Awesome.
Yeah, of course. Dude, Star Wars people are the biggest nerds ever. Even bigger nerds than Helix nerds.
Yeah, I agree on that. Nick Rush asked a question. He says, ask Bill if he uses a wound G-string for super low tunings.
No.
Okay.
No, I do not.
Okay, good to know.
My G-strings are always unwound.
Okay. And here's a two-parter. I have to go back and find it now. This is from Ryan. He says, hey, Bill, I have a two-part question. Number one, can you think of a specific idea, riff, whatever, that you contributed to the band that you're particularly proud of? And see if we can carry on that. So think on that one. Something that you've contributed that, it's your baby, you love it to death. And his second part is there something that another member of Mastodon has contributed, a riff, a drum, fill, a musical, etc. idea that sticks out in your memory as something that you were impressed by. So maybe, something you love and it's something that one of your bandmates have done that's like, wow, guys, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, for me, man, I feel like I'm on the spot right now.
I know it's like a lot of it probably. I think maybe you could probably summarize it by something like this too. Like, I know you probably put your heart and soul and everything into every riff you write, but it's nice, I'm sure, when your mates come up with something that just like, gives you that goosebump feeling, right? Whether it's a drum fill or something like that. I'm sure that's happened a lot of times where the guys have like maybe even sometimes kick you in the butt. It's so good. It makes you want to kind of, reciprocate and do something cool back.
Yeah, for sure. Let me think. I'm totally on the spot right now.
We've written so many riffs.
Sultan's Curse, like the opening riff that I wrote, because I wrote most of the last record when it comes to the riffs. That riff really, it made me feel good because I had it sitting around for like 5 years. I was like, I got this riff, guys. It's like dun 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 dun. I was like, I had that, but I had nothing else for it. So it just kind of went to the wind.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, when it finally made, actually, like the tires hit the pavement with Emperor of Sam, and I was like really digging into all my old riffs. I was like, this riff has got to make it on the new record. I was really happy about that. And the other question was something someone else had written.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just by everyone else's contribution in the band. I can't remember song titles right now because I'm like on TV. So
no, it's okay, but I'm sure it comes down to the fact that you're inspired by your bandmates probably all the time too. I mean, if you're not inspired going to work every day, it's not too much fun, is it?
No, not at all.
And the guys,
it's tough. We've been a band for 20 years.
Yeah, 2000.
And yeah, and things have changed a lot. I don't know. Honestly, every time we get in the studio, the thing is, like, if it doesn't inspire you or you don't feel like that's a great riff, then we don't record that riff.
Right. Just shelf it. Maybe for a rainy day, and maybe if it has some life another day, but for the most part, yeah, put it aside.
That's the truth, man. Honestly. We're really stringent on our songwriting and our riffs. Like, everybody's bringing riffs. Like, I bring 1,000 riffs, and maybe 10 of them stick.
Yeah,
and I'm okay with that.
Yep,
I'm okay with that. I'm always writing, and I'm like, I understand. Like, when I'm writing something, it might feel good to me right this second, but if in a month or so, I play that riff again and rest of the guys aren't feeling it, then I just have to move on.
That's right. No, that's well said. And sometimes, the song, if it doesn't speak to you right away, it's hard to get it to speak to you later. It can happen.
You can't force it.
No.
Forcing it is the key word. It's like there's a lot of times where I'll write something and I'm like, I really like this riff. I like this arrangement. I like this little piece. It's like this riff, and that riff. They work great together. We get into, by the time, we do a lot of pre-production.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just say. It all starts in here in this little tiny studio in my basement. And then we move along to a bigger studio and we get to another place. We keep on rehearsing those same parts. And sometimes, man, it's like, I'm throwing these 3 awesome riffs I think are great. And it's like, they're just not sticking.
Right.
But I feel like for me, I write so much, or I feel like, I was on a tangent when I was writing those things. Mm-hmm. Maybe they go in somewhere else. And sometimes that happens. Maybe 2 years down the road. Hey, remember that riff you wrote? That one thing?
Yeah.
Like, that's cool. I know a lot of guitarists ask me when I do my guitar lessons and stuff like that on the road,
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, how do you write a riff? How do you do it? How do you write a song? And my answer is always, you can't force creativity.
Right.
You have to just, like, for me, I'll be laying in bed and I'm sleeping in and I'm like, jigga 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 jigga. Like I hear it in my head, and I like, hey, thank God I have this studio in my basement. I can go run down there and go jigga jigga dan jigga jigga dan jigga 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 dan jigga jigga dan.
Yeah, well, yeah, it goes back to, you're talking about earlier, saying to the wife, okay, yeah, I'm going downstairs into my man cave, or I'm going downstairs, see you later, kind of thing. But it takes a really understanding partner, wife, whatever the case may be, family, period, because, like as you say, you don't know when it's going to hit you. It's going to hit you in your sleep, or maybe you're just coming back from a car ride and something hits you. You can't predict when inspiration's going to hit. And you got to get to it right away. You just have to. Sorry, I got to go. Sorry, you put the groceries away. I'm going to write this riff. It happens that way, unfortunately. But apparently, not apparently, but we have to have good family people to understand that. And I think we all do in our community, which is good. Yeah. Here's a few more.
I mean, when my wife married me, we've been married we met in 1988. So like she knew I was always that aspiring guitar player.
Yeah.
And I'm still an aspiring guitar player. I'm still learning.
We all are.
Man, I was watching you rip the preset that I sent to you for your ears only.
Yeah, thank you.
And you ripped it, man. It sounded great.
That was quite the compliment. I appreciate that. Thank you. But it was fun. You sent it to me right away, and I just had a moment of window because I was running late. I hadn't had my shower or anything yet, but I wanted to get your preset onto my Helix, and I even renamed it. So I put Bill Private, so I don't do anything with it, right? So I know, because sometimes I might forget what the names are. So it's only for me. And I made a joke on Facebook. I said it's going to self-destruct in 15 minutes, so I got to play it as fast as I can. But no, I appreciate that. But
no, it's sick, and that's the cool thing about this whole Helix family and Line 6 marketplace and all that stuff. It's really cool, man, because I know me, if I were a 15-year-old kid and James Hetfield was like, hey, I'm going to share my presets with the world.
Yep.
Believe me. Because when 30 years ago, I was like, okay, what is James Hetfield using? I don't know. An Explorer.
Yeah.
I'll buy an Explorer.
Yeah.
A Marshall. I'll buy a Marshall. What kind of pedals is he using? I don't know. Tube Screamer, Ibanez, whatever. I'll buy that. And that's all we had to do. But for the kids and the people that actually still learn and play guitar in 2020.
It's insane.
Y'all are lucky.
I know. Well,
you guys are really lucky.
I shared this with you earlier, and this really hit me today. And I went up and talked to the wife. I went up to Sandra, and I said, I know you get this, and I get this because we're so involved with, technology today. You can go and buy a Helix preset on Marketplace. I sell them. You'll be selling them eventually, or you trade them with your buddy, or whatever the case may be. It's so easy to get these tones these days. But I would have never thought, and I know you would have never thought this, in 2000, starting off Mastodon, forming the band, that one day, and this is so funny, Bill was going to send me his preset today via email, and just something happened, so he couldn't send it via email. So he sent it to me from his iPhone to my iPhone, and in 7 seconds, I had Bill's rig on my Helix, and that just blew me away. It's just the sole fact that we can now text a rig, and the amount of gear that you had in that preset would fill the back of a small van, pretty half full of gear, sent by text message. It blew me away. Totally crazy. Oh, and we lost you. You froze a little bit there for a sec.
It's amazing.
It sure is. Totally insane. Yeah. And that's why it's become a popular feature here on the show. As I told you, and a lot of our regular viewers know this, Jeff Schroeder kind of started it from Smashing Pumpkins. He volunteered a preset, and it was almost like this beautiful bad thing, because now everybody's, can I have a preset? Can I have a preset? So we've tried to reward our viewers with a preset from our favorite guest Helixes. So it's fun, and I appreciate you contributing today.
Of course.
Yeah. So a few
I
of
thought it was Lisa too.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. So a few other questions coming in. I'm not going to be able to get to everyone's questions, and I apologize greatly. Dustin, I think it's Ruther, asked, do you still have the Woodbine single cut? How is it holding up? I just got my Woodbine on the way, a Silverburst.
Oh, yes. The Woodbine guitars out of Vancouver, Canada, are man. It's like your favorite Les Paul, but a little bit better.
Okay. Nice.
For real.
Yeah. And speaking of which, too, so you've switched from Gibson a while back. You're over with ESP, and that's probably a good time to segue into how you started using Helix. So let's talk about, how Helix got in front of you, and I know the personal story, but I want you to share it. How did you and Helix meet?
Okay, so I used to be with Gibson Guitars for a while, my favorite guitar company. Growing up, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Things just didn't really work out, and I started working with ESP. And the greatest thing about ESP, which they were always kind of around, like hiding in the shadows, like, hey, we're always here if you guys want to work with us, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, the more I started to play ESP guitars, I was like, yeah, these actually are great guitars. They just weren't my favorite shapes.
Right.
So my first question after I left Gibson was, I would love to work with you guys. Let me design my own shape. Is that cool? And they're like, absolutely, would love that. So I designed my own shape with ESP. And through that, they put me on kind of a ESP kind of touring through many mom and pop shops throughout Europe and throughout the States while I was on tour. So basically what I would do, if I'm playing a show in Stockholm in Sweden, they're like, hey, we're going to find a mom and pop place for you that sells ESPs.
Mm-hmm.
You could do a little show and tell kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's great. In the back of my mind, I was like, no one's going to show up. It's going to be really small. But it was actually really, really, really great. Doing those, I would get there early to these guitar shops in Europe, and I started looking around at their products for sale.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw this thing called a Helix. I looked at it through the box and I was like, man, this packaging is amazing. It looks like my dad used to own a hi-fi business in New York for 30 years. And I was like, man, this looks like a high-tech receiver, like a Marantz receiver or something.
Yeah.
I could see with it had the handles on it at 18, 19 inches. So I knew it was a piece of rack gear.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at it and I said, man, what is this? Right now I'm using the Axe effects.
Mm-hmm.
The clinic at. He's like, oh, that's the Helix. Never heard of the Helix. And I was like, no. I was like, actually, I haven't ever even seen that.
Right.
So, basically what I did was, because at the time I wasn't bringing my Axe effects to the guitar clinics.
Right.
But now I always bring the Helix to guitar clinics because it sounds so freaking awesome.
And you were saying,
close to my own sound.
Yeah, you were saying to me the other day, so like, you still like to use amplifiers. Obviously, you have your own signature amplifier with Friedman as well, too, a great amplifier. But, you said if it come down to a pinch and that's all you had was your Helix, you would have no problem performing with it.
That is very true. There have been those times. So normally what I do is I run the Helix and then I run through the Helix out to my my actual amplifier, which is the Butterslacks amp. But there's a lot of times when I'm on tour or I'm traveling and I'm flying on planes and stuff, I just can't bring the head.
Right.
I'm afraid to bring it, or it's too expensive to bring it. it's going to get damaged. So I risk the Helix. I can just throw that in a a Pelican case.
Yeah, and you're good to go. Yeah, for sure.
Go. I mean, the coolest thing about the Helix, not the coolest thing, but one of the coolest things, you can tell it you want to run 2 different amps out of it. So you can, like the preset I'm giving away today.
Mm-hmm.
It has 2 amps in one preset. 1 amp is just a pretty basic sounding amp. The other one has effects on it.
Yep. In conjunction, together they sound great.
And together they sound great. Yeah, and that's a lot of times I roll like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll share that one shortly here as well too. Here's a good question from Jason Wage. So Jason doesn't know much of Mastodon's catalog, and I'm sure there's a few of our fans that come through that maybe they might not know as much as the next person. He says, on the off chance if someone hasn't heard of Mastodon nor listened to them, what would be suggested to listen to as an intro to the band's catalog? Is there kind of a best of that you would suggest? Maybe for
I would suggest listening to Sultan's Curse from Emperor of Sand.
Okay, there you go. And there's some good on your YouTube channel, which we've got links we're sharing to. There's a lot of behind the scenes of making that stuff. So I watched some of it today, which is very, very cool. I watched your segment. I didn't watch the other guys because obviously you're on the show today, not the other guys. So
Right.
Yeah, I was watching your portion, but that's really, really cool. And I forget who asked this, and I had it on the list today as well too. See if I can find who asked it. Well, Marcel's also asking if there's any plans of getting your butter slacks modeled by Line 6. And I'm sure down the road it's probably an idea. It's so many amplifiers out there to model and only so much time, right? So who knows? Do you think you might see that someday? It'd probably be an honor, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
I think that the placator was
pretty darn close.
Somehow. Huh?
Pretty darn close to yours?
Yeah, pretty darn close. And I think that because I feel like I bugged Matt so much that he was placating me.
Yeah, there you go.
Because there was a time where I kept bugging Matt from Line 6, and he goes, you know what? I have to tell you, there is a Friedman butter slacks in the other room right now.
Okay.
Even though he never made it public, that hey, we just modeled your amp.
Oh wow!
But I think he did.
Well,
so me personally, I feel like the placator was his answer to me bugging him.
There you go. Yeah, and they always come up with the best names too. I love that, right? For copyright issues, of course, you can't use the names and stuff like that. But I apologize. I don't know who asked this question, but this was on the and I'm sorry about that. But they were asking how you hook up your Helix. So in a lot of cases, obviously, you like to run it with an amplifier, but kind of share. And I noticed in one of your presets, there's an effects loop on there as well too. So can you kind of take us through your favorite way to hook up Helix and maybe some unorthodox ways you've used it in the past?
Yeah. The thing is with the Helix, there's so many different ways to use it.
Mm-hmm.
And I use all of them. I'm always hooking up differently and trying out different sounds. So for me, like right now what I do, and I'm not sure, obviously no one can see this, but I basically run one out. Like I run my guitar into return 3 in the back.
Okay.
So everything is, I use live. I use wireless. So the wireless system, I go in wireless. The wireless goes into return 3, and then I basically run my best sound that I like out of the Helix into a power amp, which is either the Matrix 1000.
Okay.
Or it's the at the moment it's the Seymour Duncan one.
The Power Stage?
I forget the name of it. Yeah, Power Stage.
Yeah.
Which is a little fatter than a one space rack.
Okay.
So my live unit is runs to that, the power station, and that just runs right to a cabinet. Take that, goes straight to the cabinet. It goes into the Mo
Okay.
by Friedman, because I'm a Friedman
Artist.
products artist. Yeah, I love all their stuff. They're cutting edge as well on a different level.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other end. Okay, so I go into the Helix, and if you're looking at my Helix trail,
Mm-hmm.
it depends on if I'm. It usually just goes right through the Helix, and then goes out of the Helix. So I'm kind of using the Helix as an AB box
Okay, gotcha.
for my live amp. And then every once in a while, I throw on my live actual amp, which is the Butterslacks. And if you're looking at the Helix edit window, everything comes in,
Mm-hmm.
and then it splits and it drops down to a window, or it drops down to a line. And that bottom line is what goes out to a separate output, which goes to my actual live amp,
Okay.
which is my Butterslacks. So most of the time, my Butterslacks is just kind of running as a dry amp.
Gotcha.
So it's always either clean sounding or it's distortion.
One or the other.
Yeah, and then the Helix output is also going to a preamp that goes to another like 412 cabinet and front of house. And then you're hearing all the wet stuff. So you're hearing all the delay. You're hearing all the tremolo and the chorus or reverb, whatever I'm using on those channels.
Yeah, so your front of house guy can really bring in whatever they need. Want more amp, more Helix, wet effects, dry effects, or dry stuff. I mean, full control over that.
Yeah. That's the idea.
Nice.
But in the past few months, I've also been like, well, I want to send a little bit. I love the Helix so much. I'm like, I want to send a little bit more Helix to the dry amp, which
Okay.
is the Butterslacks amp.
Mm-hmm.
So during certain songs, for instance, the one I'm giving away tonight, the Steam Breather sound, I may add, like, on the Helix has the octaver and the delay, but out of that stereo output to the live actual real amp, the real amp is getting, I don't know, reverb and just a dry signal.
Well, that's perfect. That's perfect. And did it make any Helix make the new record, or is it making the new record?
Oh yeah, of course.
You got a lot of it. You got a lot of it on there. I know you shared a little bit with me, but just to share with the fans.
Yeah, I mean, so far everything I've been recording has been with the Helix.
Oh, perfect. Now, if you experimented? Obviously, you probably haven't because you're doing everything out of Helix. But have you tried Native at all?
Yeah,
You have used it,
I have. Yeah.
and you're finding obviously.
I'm not. I can't give you 100% feedback on that yet because I use it a lot on the road, but I always find it better to just plug into a Helix unit.
Exactly. Yeah, plug right in and go. Right. Always using the hardware. I'm more comfortable with it as well too. I have embraced it through Logic. That's what I use here on a Mac. And it saved my butt a couple times. I did a track one time where I forgot something, and it was a Van Halen type of a thing, and I needed the phaser. I forgot to engage it during one of the solos, so I went back on later on and just with Native turned on the phaser over a DI track, and it was perfect. So that saved my butt. Yeah, kind of handy there.
A lot of people really love it. I'm not that big of a recording engineer where I'm like, I've passed it along to my recording engineer friends, and they're like, man, the bass mics on these things are great.
Certainly. Well, I think I told you the story. At least if I wasn't sharing it with you, I was sharing it with Jeff last week. Chris from Blackstone Cherry, he's been on a couple times. And I think their last 2 records they did, it was all Helix and for the guitars. And they recorded all the bass tracks with an Ampeg 810, traditional, 810 rig. And they went back in later and they elected to use just something was funky. I don't know what it was. And they went back in and used Helix and used the Ampeg inside Helix. And that was the tracks that made the record. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about how great the bass tracks sound.
Mm-hmm. Well,
the bass amps in Helix
and Billy Sheehan loves them. Native. Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Billy Sheehan loves them. Obviously, some of his stuff is actually in Helix as well.
At my own studio.
Say that again?
Yeah. At my own studio.
Mm-hmm.
There's like these, whatever these bass plugins are, sound amazing.
Mm-hmm. You having the experience, I mean, this is not your first rodeo when it comes to modelers. I mean, using Kempers before in the past, using Fractal products as well too. I mean, all these people make great products. Boss has some great modelers. The Head Rushes. I mean, there's a good half a dozen that you can just name.
Electronic.
Yeah, all these things are great out there. But what did you find? And here's something too. We always get people watching the show sometimes. Okay, I'm thinking about getting a Helix. I'm not sure if I'm going to get one. But the interface, like the user interface to it, how would you say the learning curve was for you? For seeing this Helix in the box and not knowing what it was, and the first time using it, did you gravitate towards it pretty quickly?
I did. I honestly did, man, because Axe-Fx, which Axe-Fx, sounds great. It's awesome. But it seemed to me every day on tour, I had to plug my computer into the Axe-Fx in my rig just to make sure, because everything sounded different every day.
Right.
And I'm a nerd. I'm a total nerd. I could hear it. I was like, the delay doesn't sound right, or something doesn't sound right. And I would go into Axe Edit, and every day I'd have to sit there with my guitar tech, and I'm like, I shouldn't have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, James Hetfield doesn't have to do this. I'm not him, but I'm like, why do I have to spend half my day, like, tuning my stuff every day? It should be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I got to Helix, all of a sudden I was using Helix stuff. I was like, okay, if I have a problem, I don't have to break out my computer. I can just
reach over,
look at the interface, which is the same size. There was a time or two, because with Helix, it's not perfect. There's a few times where, like, if you design a new sound in Snapshot 2,
mm-hmm.
sometimes it carries over to Snapshot 1.
Mm-hmm.
Where, for instance, if your Snapshot 1 is like a totally clean sound, and everything's happy and gay there, and then Snapshot 2 is like, oh, I'm adding another amp, I'm adding a chorus and this and that, and all of a sudden you go back to Snapshot 1, all those things are still there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you have to undo all those things and then resave it.
That's right.
But that has saved me. I mean, yeah, that sucks. I don't like that. But there was a time where I was playing live and I looked down at the actual unit and I said, wow, man, why is the delay on right now?
Yeah.
Delay should not be on right now. This is my rhythm channel.
Yeah.
But it showed me clear as day, your delay channel is on. Like the green is lit up.
Yep. So right away. It's visual cue that
so
you
I
should.
was playing, and I look down and go, oh, I got a second. I'm gonna reach down and I hit turn off,
mm-hmm.
and then save.
Done.
And then we're done. So like, stuff like that, hands-on Helix beats everybody.
Yeah,
Kemper doesn't even have a interface.
that I did not know.
When Kemper first came out, I was like, man, you guys, this is a great idea. Where's the interface?
That makes a world of difference. Sorry, we lost you there again. Hopefully it comes there. Yeah, every once in a while your Wi-Fi freezes, just letting people in the audience know, just so we not to panic and run away. It's just a Wi-Fi locks up here and there. But yeah, having an interface for sure is crucial to our product success. And I've said this many times in the show, and I swear by this. I mean, it may take a little bit of tweaking, but if I had electricity for 5 minutes on a tour bus, if I was on a tour bus and I had Helix plugged in or whatever, I could go in and drop a block, like drop in my favorite amp block, drop a cab, drop some of my comfort effects, like I like reverb, delay, maybe a phaser, a wah pedal, and I could just save it, and then I could get to where I got to go, whether it's a demo or a gig or whatever the case may be, and I would only need to tweak tiny little things, but I know I could set it up without even hearing it, and eventually could almost play with it just how I painted by numbers almost. That easy. Would you agree with that? And we froze again. So we froze here. So did you? What were your thoughts on that?
Right.
Just basically dropping the blocks, your favorite amp, your favorite cabs, things like that, and you could pretty much get to a gig and only have to do minor tweaks.
Yeah, to me, I mean, dude, believe me, I've tried them all. Helix is the way of the future.
Nice.
Until they come up
with the next one.
They really are, because yeah, I can't wait for the update. But can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you. We got you. Yep.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's man, I don't know. Helix has always been awesome to me, and it's been such great, like, even customer support, which is very important.
We see that on social media all the time with all the team, Frank and Matt and everybody. I mean, they're the first people there. Like you see them 3 hours before they even start their shift, and they're helping people out with tickets and trouble tickets and things like that. It's amazing. You're going to be covered one way or another from someone from the company.
Well, this technology is so new. I understand. There's so many like old school guys who are like, man, fuck all that. I'm not ready to jump from my Orange or my Marshall or my Mesa or my Friedman. I'm not ready to jump from into a world like a Helix or an XFX or a Kemper. I was that same guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, well, I won't do it all at once. I'll just kind of, check one at a time. But I've checked all of them, and all those dudes have been so friendly, easily to explain, like, and never pushy, never like, oh, hey, you need to use this. They're just like, do you want to know how to use this? Okay, cool. This is how you do it. You want what do you want? A good distortion? You want a good amp? And over a recommendation, and that speaks volumes. Customer service has been great.
Yeah, I can appreciate that for sure, and that's why a lot of people feel so warm and welcome to the community, because they know they've got the support and just it's like a safety net. You feel like you're never going to be left out there with. I've seen people have some things break on the road, and they get to their next gig, and there's a Helix waiting for them, whether it's sent from
that
line 6 or
happens.
Yeah,
that's happened so many times. I called Matt Ferguson, and I said, hey, man, my Helix my floor unit is not working right. He goes, where are you? I was on tour. Mm-hmm. The very next day, he sent me a brand new unit. I'm not saying that he'll do that for everybody, but he did that for me, and it was great.
Very, very helpful. You know, it was really cool too. I'm sure you can appreciate this. With all the guests that have been coming on the show providing presets for us, yourself included, we're getting to hear, you know, the viewers of the show, we're getting to hear some tones and sounds in a lot of cases outside of our wheelhouse. Like your stuff is a lot heavier than some of our guests that have come on. When Jeff provided,
yeah, it is.
yeah, that's right. And when Jeff was on, he gave us some really cool,
It's
you know,
okay to swear, right?
that's okay. Here and there is not too bad as long as we don't get too many. YouTube will flag us, but. You know, Jeff gave us some stuff with very atmospheric stuff. We've had some, I mean, it's a wide gamut of sounds, but do you find having all these things available at your fingertips can sometimes, I mean, you're the riff master, but do you find it can inspire you as well? I know it certainly does me. Does it inspire you to write as well?
Of course. Yeah. Writing. When I just turn the knob, I give them like a Fender clean whatever amp to a Marshall with a chorus delay and octaver or something, like some weird someone else came up with. I kind of feel like that's very inspiring.
Yeah, and it can make you write something you would have never necessarily tried, right? I've heard some things before, like some of the octave stuff like you're talking, and I instantly want to write like a Rage Against the Machine riff, or, you know, another thing I've tried to tell people, and I'm trying to tell myself this too because I don't always do it, get out of your comfort zone and try some other amplifiers that you would not normally, yeah, right?
Exactly. That's it. You said it better than I did because I can't say it as well as you do. That's how it is. You just set a bunch of weird parameters in the Helix. You just start jamming. You just start playing the guitar to those sounds. That's what I do.
That's right.
I set it to an absolute, like, something I would never set it to, like a Vox amp with a chorus and delay and whatever. And I just start playing to it, and I'm like, this actually sounds really cool. This sounds like a cool verse for, I don't know yet. And then I record it, and then I take that and I just save it until there's a place in a Mastodon song where, like, hey, you know what, we need this like weird soft chorus part. And I'm like, hey, I kind of have that.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can say is that Helix has helped me be more creative.
I find it as well too. I mean, it's just like your only limitation is your imagination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only thing is your imagination, because at your fingertips or footsteps, you have like all these awesome guitar sounds.
Exactly. All at your disposal. We would never be able to just have all these amplifiers and pedals. Most people on the planet couldn't afford, myself included, to have everything that's in there in the real world. So, I mean, you'd have to make a lot of trips to your guitar centers and places like that to even, some of these things you wouldn't even be able to get a chance to play. They're so boutique, you know, so that's very, very cool. Here's a couple other questions as well coming in. Rob F. says, new to Mastodon, but I love heavy music. What tuning do you usually write? I know you elaborated a little bit on that, but is there some favorite tunings that you like to stay in?
Me personally?
Yeah.
So, like, not a and then drop from D standard, D as in dog.
Yep.
Drop that down to C as in cat. And then you have like what people normally call drop D, but it's now drop C.
Right.
And then we also take that drop C and take that C note, the low note, down to an A. And that's a drop A tuning. So now when you're playing like a power chord, like the low note low string and the second to low string, instead of being a power chord, it's like it's an octave.
Okay. And that gets serious chunk coming in.
Yeah, a lot of people have been like, why don't you just, get 7 strings?
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
Yeah, it's nice to play your traditional. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Some people can't gravitate towards 7 strings. I mean, it's just one more string, an 8 string, 2 more strings, but it makes you think differently. I get lost if I pick up a 7-string guitar. I don't know where to go with it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I've tried it. If you can do it, there's bands that do it, and they're great. It's awesome, but Mastodon, we just kind of old school.
Yeah, traditional. Derek Merrill in the chat, yeah, he's saying, Derek Merrill saying, I'm hoping his preset will work for a stomp. And unfortunately, no, it won't work for a stomp. But what you could do, if you want to take that's one of the nice things about some of these presets. Sometimes, and I say to people, there are no bad presets out there, no matter who makes them, so there's some free ones out there and commercial ones. There's always something good about every preset. Maybe somebody uploads something that has a really cool delay or a different way of running a delay that you would have not thought about. So you can borrow those elements. Same thing with Bill's preset here today. If you have a stomp, you could open up an HX edit. Maybe you could take a look at how, Bill, you're using your amplifiers. Maybe you can look at a really cool way of using your delay and bring in a few of those blocks into stomp, kind of recreate the preset for stomp, and it'll still work. You just won't have the full block layout that is in Helix. But, that's one way of doing it. I would put it into HX Edit and trim some of the things out and bring it over as a stomp preset. You miss some of the goodies, but it is doable. Do you have a stomp yet?
Okay.
Do you have a stomp?
I do. Yeah, I do. But everything you said, I missed because I don't know how to. I know there's things you need to trim.
Yeah.
If you're going to turn a normal thing into a stomp.
Yeah, because you've got 6 blocks, the limitation. But for the average person, it's still pretty good. You can have a wah, an amp, and a cab together, so you're not using 2 blocks and some of your effects in there, and you'll be fine. And I'm going to get that preset link right now. I'm going to have that shared. I'll put Sandra's going to share that. Yeah, so we'll have that downloadable as well too. And what was the question I had here for you? Someone else asked it earlier, and again, I forget who asked it, but they were asking about impulse responses. And I think I forget from our conversation last night when you and I were chatting off the air, you were talking about some impulse responses, stuff like that. Are you a stock cab guy for the most part, or do you like to experiment with impulse responses?
Oh, I like impulse responses very much. Sorry, I'm peeing right now. I like the Own Hammer.
Yeah.
And the Celestian stuff a lot. Yeah. I really dig those. But there are like so many. I mean, to me, I'm a nerd, and I love to slip through the different settings they have.
Okay.
But at the same time, they're so like insignificant. It's hard for me to like pick one. I don't know. What's your favorite?
Well, I
like Own Hammer, and I like. There's certain like tones that I like by them.
There's one I use, and unfortunately the company now has gone out of business. I'm very bummed about it, but they're called Infinite Rigs. They're out of the UK, and they just went out of business, but they had some killer packages. They had like, signature packs like the Van Halen style. They had like hard rock stuff. They had some George Lynch type stuff. A little bit of everything, right? And I like it. It's very, very warm sounding. The one particular one I like, it sounds like a PV5150 412 cab. That kind of stuff. So I like them a lot. I've tried some of the Own Hammer stuff. I also like the Celestian ones. The Celestian brought out a set of the G10, whatever, I forget what it is, but the same ones that are in the 5150 412 cabs. So yeah, I like those a lot as well too. But I tend to always go back to stock cabs just for the most part because if you're on someone else's Helix, you don't have the impulse responses. It should work good out of the box, and it does.
Do you mean stock cabs like the ones that
Ship with the Helix. Yeah.
Provide?
Yeah, the ones that ship with Helix.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's what I've always said too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, because I mean, you should be able to buy your Helix at your mom and pop store or big box store, bring it home, and be able to use it right away. And it's nice to to go down the rabbit hole of impulse responses, but it's got to sound good right out of the box, and it does for sure. Awesome.
You're
So
right.
you got a tour coming up right away as well
No,
too.
you're right. Yeah, I do. Yeah, we do.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's coming up in May.
Overseas and some U.S. dates.
Well, yep, I think so.
Obviously, Helix will be part of that.
Oh, of course.
Fantastic. Well, listen.
The Helix always part of my rig now. Always, I love it.
It's consistency for sure.
I can't say enough. Yeah, consistency, and I normally just as a last thing about the Helix.
Yeah.
Is that when it comes to all the effects, I don't use floor effects anymore.
It's all strictly Helix.
Sorry, I lost you.
Yeah, I know it froze again on us. We might have to wrap up here in a minute too, because the Wi-Fi it's freezing almost regularly now. So maybe what we'll do is we'll try to get you back on with a LAN connection sometime down the road as well too. But at least we got a lot of good content today when the Wi-Fi is cooperating for sure. But yeah, so that's what I was going to ask you as a last question then, because I noticed you had an effects loop on there. Do you run any pedals at all, like kind of in the routing system of Helix? Or are you gone completely now without them?
No, I don't.
Yeah, so it's all independent Helix. That's great.
I'm completely happy with what Helix provides.
Fantastic. Well, it's good to hear. Well, listen, we're gonna jump off here in a second, but I want to thank you so very much for your time popping on the show today. It's been a pleasure as well. Thank you for sending us the presets, and folks, grab that from the link that's in the chat here as well too, and put that on your Helix. Have some fun with it, and maybe tag us if you do some videos. Tag us and let us know, and I'll share that with Bill as well too. It'd be nice to see you creating some really cool content with these presets. And check out all the links we have in the description down below to follow Mastodon and Bill as well too on various platforms. Watch for that tour coming up, and there's gonna be some good things coming for sure. We'll look forward to that new record. And Bill, maybe once a new record's out and before you take off again on a big tour, we'll get you back on and give us an update, and we'll see where we are with how things are happening in the world of Mastodon at that time.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Of course, Eric. Thank you so much.
A pleasure. Don't go away.
Right,
I'll say goodbye to you off the air, and everyone have a fantastic Sunday, and we'll look forward to seeing you here next week as well too, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific, right here on the Helix Hour. And until next time, cheers.
Hey, you're still here? Eric Jr. here, reminding you to check out our full lineup of quality merch. Available right now in the Broadstash Boutique. Quality products and fast shipping. Visit broadstash.com today.
Thank you for watching the Helix Hour. We hope you enjoyed today's presentation. An extra special thank you to the staff at Line 6 for their continued support. If you've not yet subscribed, please do so right now and feel free to share our content with your friends. See you next time on the Helix Hour.